know that I'm different. Self-motivated, self-disciplined. Yeah, I learned from my experience. I just want someone.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode from Boys to Men. I'm your host, Terry, Mr. King. And today, have y'all ever heard a story and it just touched you and just inspired you and just made you want to get up and just live life to the fullest? Well, our guest today did that to me. And honestly, I'm just honored to have this man on so he can share his experience and his story with y'all. And man, without further ado, man, y'all, from Boys and Men, I just wanted to introduce y'all to Jeremy Henley. What's going on, Jeremy?
Hey, man. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I appreciate it. First of all, just thank you for having me, man. It's an honor for you to have me on your show and on the podcast and everything, man. I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Man, thank you, man. Because look, when I heard your story at the graduation for acting corps and everything, I literally had goosebumps. I know I'm a fan of The Rock, so every time The Rock used to come out into the arena, he always like make them focus on his arms, see the
goosebumps. Yeah.
That's what you gave me, and it was just such a raw and natural. It's just like it's your story, and it touched me.
Yeah.
And I know that somebody else out there needs to hear what you have been through and what you overcame, so they can know to keep pushing forward. So
yeah.
Jeremy, the floor is yours. The floor is completely yours.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, we could probably talk all night with just kind of some of the things that I've gone through just in my life. But man, just this past year, man, everybody's got stuff, right? Everybody's got the things that they go through, whether it's family issues, whether it's career issues, or whatever the case is, man. But everybody's got that dream inside of them that they want to get up and move forward. But there's a lot of stuff that I watch, man. It's like when you live in a small town or just people closest to you, if you have a dream, the biggest way to have that dream killed is to tell it to the people that are closest to you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I did that for years. I've always had just this feeling inside, man, that I want to do something much greater with my life. And not only that, but as a father and a leader is to inspire my children to do the same thing. And that's what we're here for. And if your father fails trying to instill that in their children, then they get to pick it up and they get to continue with the dream. But just this last year, man, it is, gosh, so I've had some health conditions my whole life. I've kind of overcame and still battle with, not really overcoming them, just deal with them. But I had a stroke last year or October of last year, and October 2021. And man, at the time I felt like I just had the world by the oyster. You know what I mean? Or it was my oyster. I felt I had a good career, bought a house, it had the family, vehicles, all that good stuff, felt good. But I didn't like my job. I wasn't happy there, but I was good at what I did. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't happy with. It caused a lot of stress, caused a lot of issues at home, yada, yada. Anyway, man, so I had the stroke, and the stroke came during a time of separation and divorce for my family. With the stroke, I wasn't able to go back to work. Still dealing with trying to get just disability and move forward because I have my issues. I have good days and bad days. But, man, it was just something that stuck with me is I seen a video by Matthew McConaughey and says, sit in your discomfort. Just don't reach out and don't try. And I did, and it's not like I didn't do it, but it's like you could reach out for drugs and alcohol and lust of the flesh, man, and all that. And at the end of the day, the thing about your problems is you still got problems even when you sober up, or you still got problems even when you get home the next day. And it was eventually, man, like just putting it in God's hands. And by doing that, I finally just made the decision, like, man, I've worked for a barge company out of Kentucky, worked offshore. I've worked for a power company. I've worked for the county, worked for the prison. I've worked for a lot of different places over and at a young age, gained a lot of experience, but I was never really happy. And I always did that to build other people's dreams, to make other people happy, make sure food's on the table. We're buying things, buying cars, buying all this stuff. And but deep down, it's not what I was happy with doing. Well, after, it's one of those things, once you have that Tim McGraw song, that live like you were dying type deal.
Yep. Yep.
After that, I was like, man, I'm tired of it. I don't want to spend time. And you still struggle. I still go through my own struggles and everything, but I don't want to waste time. Not 1 second, not building the dream that's been, and fulfilling the purpose that God's put on my heart. And just, man, just the way everything's fell to place with El Rico and with Sacred and everything going on in Pensacola, man, I'm honored to be a part of it. And it's just one of those things, like I said that evening at the graduation, is doors open, doors of opportunity. There every single day, man. You have opportunity, brand new chapter, brand new start to pick up and go. But you've got to have the power to walk through that door and to recognize those opportunities. It's also on you to get up and do your part to meet God halfway. When he opens that door, hey, it's here for you. He'll lead you to water, ain't gonna make you drink, you know what I mean? But you gotta take that leap of faith and just say, hey man, I'm ready to move forward and do something bigger with my life. Man, there's something that stuck with me. I heard this when I was like 16, 17 in high school. But it says most men die before the age 25.
Yep.
But they're not buried until the age 75. And do you know what that means? You know what that refers to?
Yep.
Yeah.
We died the first time when we gave up on our dreams and stuff.
Exactly. And that's it. You give up on your dreams and your visions, man, or you stop, or at a young age, man, you have children, stuff happens and all that. Well, then you focus on, all right, well, I got my family. And as men, what do we do as providers and leaders? We're like, you know what? We got to provide for that. We sacrifice ourselves. And not just men, women, same thing, man. When you have that stuff, you've got to sacrifice. And then we put everybody else before ourselves. And then at 75, 80 years old, and then we're looking back at 80 years of, man, I wish I would have did something different, instead of starting right now and saying, man, at 80, I can look back and say, hey, man, I gave it everything. Whether I had a heart condition or I had this stroke or I had all this stuff happen, at least I can say with all of that, I still did what I felt like I was supposed to do, and kept moving forward to meet God halfway and fulfilling my purpose.
Yes, sir. Hey, because look, my uncle had a saying, 2/3 of God is G-O, go. So you got to get up and go sometime. If you just standing still, you can't receive that blessing. You got to get up and move towards it, because like they say, faith without works is dead.
Exactly. And Book of James, man. Yep.
Yes, sir. And with all that you was facing last year and earlier on this year, it's just a true testament, like what most men go through on a day-to-day basis. They will work themselves tired, stressed out, trying to take care of family life and everything else too. And we never have time to focus on ourselves and finding what make us happy, and that self-love within us.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that you are actually changing the narrative of what it is to be a man. Because look, I am a firm believer. I'm arms linked with you with this, with the following our dreams. Because our kids are looking up at us right now, like, how I'm gonna tell them to go follow their dreams and chase their dreams if I never did it?
Yeah, exactly.
We got to be the example, and you are being the example for not just your kids, but the other kids that are actually going to be following your journey, following in your footsteps. Because it's not easy for a lot of people to sacrifice something that's going to be guaranteed for something that's is up in the air. It's a risk.
Yeah.
But without risk, there ain't no reward out of it.
There's no reward without risk, man. And that's the thing, is you just got to take that step. And I'll tell you, man, I've always put everything, and it's just when I put it in God's hands, man, and just wholeheartedly, man, I'm telling you, I've tried to do everything just on my own power, my own two hands. And it's like, man, God had to humble me, and I wasn't living a good life, and I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But, man, God had to humble me to take, my health, everything. But, all right, now you sit down. I need you to recharge, and I need you to focus on what I got planned for you. Because everything you thought you had, I got
Yeah.
something better for you. But the thing is, you don't get blessings without going through hardships, man. And a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to having faith, man, having that blind faith, because what you could be, and it's what keeps me going, man. Because some days you get in your times of depression and your anxieties and all that, and you're overthinking, especially men. And a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people don't talk about it, man, because we're raised to be alphas, we're raised to be tough, and
Oh
shut,
yeah.
man, keep them feelings in here. Don't be emotionally emotions. What is that? You better not be emotionally intelligent. You know what I mean? And
Facts.
but when you go through all that stuff, man, and it stresses you out and all that, then it's like, you know what? You still go through all of it, but at the end of the day, man, the next 10 minutes could be when it changes. The next morning might be your opportunity. And it's one of those, a lot of us, and I've done it in my lifetime. How many times do we stop when it's getting too hard or too difficult, or there's
Yep.
so many obstacles in the way, and we stop? And the thing is, we stop when we get to that obstacle, and everything that we ever wanted is just on the other side of that obstacle, but we stop short. And
Yep.
man, and I ain't gonna say it like it's easy, man, because some of them days when it gets hard, man. A lot of grown men don't talk about that stuff, and there's whether it's and it's not just one person's problem. A lot of people don't understand the men's mental health aspect of it.
There you
Just to
go.
pick up and go through that. A lot of people don't like, man, and it's the way that we're raised.
Yeah.
Just across cultures and across races, man. One thing is, we're all raised.
Yep.
You got to be a provider. You got to be, hey, no, you can't go. You go and you get up and go to work. Don't worry about your feelings. You've got
Suck it
a
up.
family to take care of. Suck it up and go. You know what I mean? But then then it's like you have these dudes that have these breakdowns, man. I'm not gonna say that I haven't broke
No,
down
I
myself.
had one too. I had one
Yeah.
too. And it's scary because now I'm looking at it like I don't want to say keep the same narrative because I got a son. I don't
Mhm.
want him to. I want to correct the issues that we were taught when we were growing up that we got
Yes.
to keep everything in. And I'm looking at it now like,
Yeah.
man, for these next generation of men and the ones in our generation, we need to set a better example of them being able to vent because we have
Yeah.
the highest suicide rate out of genders. We
Yep.
kill
There it
more
is.
people, more men commit suicide every day than a woman does in the whole year.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's the scary part. And like, man, that's why I was so shook by your story. And I was so like, it gave me goosebumps because I was like, man, this is somebody that I could tell is really on the same path I am, trying to change that narrative of what it
Yeah.
is to be a man, not just a provider, but trying to be the full version of what a man need to be emotionally
Yeah.
wise, everything. And man, whew, you got me. I got
Yeah.
goosebumps right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, man, it's one of those things that, and I look back and I reflect, and I tell you, dude, this year, even though it's been hard, it's been a grind, but it's also been a growth. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, I reflect back on my failures and I look like, all right, I know better moving forward. You can't change the past and you can't hold on to the past, but you can recognize when you look back at the past, it's a place for learning, not for living. Don't stay stuck there, but learn from your mistakes and move forward. And the biggest thing, and that's something that I just with my children, man, as I know me growing up, and there's a huge transition, like it's just generational. Like right now, man, kids are soft nowadays. You know what I mean? They wasn't
Yeah.
ready when you grew. I grew up, man. I was 10, 11, 12 years old, pouring concrete and laying block with my family because that's what they did. Well, you grow up like, hey, man, that's what
Yeah.
you're raised to do, and you're just raised to go to work. Well, now me knowing what I know now and just learning and looking into stuff and studying, like, man, it's okay for fathers to have emotional connection conversations with their children to understand, and it's okay to go and be able to just open up emotionally with your spouse, communication, whatever the case is. But it's okay to do that. Well, most men, like, we're not good at communicating. We're good at shutting our mouth and going to work because that's what we're
Yep.
supposed to do. You know what I mean? And then when you sit down and try to have those conversations, like, man, it's a world changer when you just sit down and ask somebody. When he says, no, I'm just fine, just give him time and say, all right, what's really on your mind when you say you're just fine?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
sir.
And then, but don't, at the same time, I think also that men don't do that. They don't open up because it's hard for them to put their emotions and their feelings into words.
Yeah.
And
And their
then once
trust.
they
And
do
their
that,
trust.
and the trust there, and then I've been seeing this pretty regular. It's not communication that's the problem, it's comprehension.
Yeah.
You can try to explain something all day long to somebody, but if they only see it from their side of things, or they only see their perspective, if you're not capable of being open-minded and viewing things analytically and being able to see things from the outside looking in instead of just your way, a lot of people get stuck in, no, this is the way I see it, this is the way it is, this is the way it's going to be. Well, if that's the case, if you limit yourself, you limit your growth. If you're not willing to see it from another point of view or another perspective, you're limited and you're going to stay in that box. But you've got to be able to view everything, the world, from outside looking in, and understand other people's feelings, be empathetic to situations. And man, just men talking about that in general, men talking about, like, that's just like, man, you're not supposed to be talking about that kind of stuff. Go to work. Stop all that smart talking. Get out there in the yard, go to work. You know what I mean? And but I think honestly, man, there's a huge shift, because I think it's more. I know there's Movember, where they do the men's mental health for Movember, where they do the shaving and everything, and just the outreach there, and I think there's a big movement on it, where people are like, hey, it's okay to
not be okay.
To not be okay, exactly. And man, I'll tell you, there was something that was told to me while I worked with the Department of Corrections. I was going through some stuff, and this was before I had my stroke. And I went in and I sat down with one of the HR guys, and I was just kind of venting a little bit. And he said, hey, and he told me him and his wife had been married for years and years, man. He was an older guy, and he said, you ain't got the, he said, most people go to a counselor for their marriage or relationship when things start falling apart. He said, we've been going since we started. He said, if you can't communicate, it's okay to have somebody to come in as a mediator, so emotions don't get involved. When you can communicate logically instead of emotionally, communication would be a lot better, not just in relationships, but just in general, in person. Every day talking, every day just communication with each other. You know what I mean? When you're able to just stop and don't react emotionally but respond logically, man, it's a lot better, you know.
Whole nother level. And that's why I
Yeah.
said it's so big for men to, if they need someone to talk to, check out therapy and everything, because it's okay to people. I remember so long ago, it was like, oh, if a man go to therapy, he's weak, he's wrong,
Weak,
he's
exactly.
all that
He's
stuff.
weak.
I say that's the biggest strength you can actually have, to noticing yourself that you need help, and getting the help that you need to be a better person for the people that need you.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And the thing is, when it comes down to that, man, like, when your car's broke, where do you take it to? You take it to a mechanic, right? You take it to a professional. When something breaks at the house, an appliance, you call a professional. If your communication's broken, if you feel broken, call a professional, man. Them people got degrees for a reason. It's okay. Now, you're going to be nervous. If I ain't going to say, like, hey, you ain't nervous. Like, hey, man, I ain't for this at first. Because there's been, when I was younger, I went to a counselor, tried it with my marriage and everything. I mean, I walked right out of there, and I was bullheaded, and I didn't change my mind. And, hey, I know where it ended. So in the future, hey, that's a lesson learned. I don't mind going and sitting down and listening to a counselor. But you got to be able, with criticism, with constructive criticism, you've got to be able to take that too. When somebody tell you, hey, man, you're wrong, you got to be able to accept, okay, maybe I was wrong. You've got to look in the mirror too and recognize your own role in your downfall, your own toxicities, your own negative behaviors, your own bad habits. You've got to be okay with saying, all right, I do need to change that about myself. I do need to fix this. I do understand how my behaviors and my mentality and my anger, whatever, I understand how it affects those around me. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to fix myself so I can fix others around me.
Exactly. Boy,
Yeah.
Jeremy, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. But yo, Jeremy, I can't wait for see what you going forward in the life and everything with these roadblocks that have been playing the role that they did play to shape us to
Yeah.
the role that we're at right now. I'm
Yeah.
just excited. I'm you got me excited for
Yeah.
these people that these now let me correct this. These men and young men and these women and young women who understand the importance of just your message and your what you've been through and your journey, because it's going to help them be a better brother, a brother sister, a brother father, a brother mother, a brother husband, a better wife, and understand it's okay to not be okay. And it's
Yeah.
okay to take a step back and reanalyze everything and readjust and go forward from
Yeah.
there. Man,
Yeah.
but Jeremy, I know you got your son's practice to go to and everything, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna keep
Yeah.
hold you all night. But I want you to leave these people with, I call it golden nuggets. It's a
Yeah.
piece of advice that will you believe will something that you've been through or something that you hold on to that help you through your days where you don't feel like you don't got nothing to give.
Man, I tell you, and I kind of touched on it just a little bit ago, man. But I'm going to tell you like this, because man, when I tell you that I've been through a struggle this past year, I've been through a struggle, and I'm not comparing mine to anybody else because we all got them. You know what I mean? Everybody's got something that they're dragging around with them. But man, I'm telling you, it's got where I've just wanted to quit, and I feel like I'm not making a difference. I'm not fulfilling my purpose. Um, and then and then you kind of get into those times like, man, nobody would even miss me type deal, like one of those things. But dude, I'm going to tell you right now that the
Yes, sir.
only thing that's really kept me going uh, is, man, Isaiah was a youth, and when he was called to be a prophet, he said, man, how can I be a prophet? I'm of unclean lips. And the
Yup.
angel took the amber and touched his mouth. He said, go forth and sin no more. Jeremiah, he said, man, how can I go? I'm just a youth. How can I go? He said, don't worry about it. Just go. You go where I send you to go. You just be good with it. Peter, man, when he stepped out of the boat and stepped on the water, and then when he looked down, when he had doubt, that's when he fell through the water. So, man, there's just so much that you could go back. You look at Jonah, man, that dude ran just as hard as he could away from God's calling in his life, and he got swallowed by a fish. Said, no, man, I got you. So I'm going to tell you right now, the only reason that I'm still here and still having this conversation and moving forward where I'm at is, dude, just in those dark times, dude, it ain't nothing but God, man. That just reminds me, like, hey, don't give up, because tomorrow could be the day. The next hour could be the difference of the rest of your life. And then when you get to that, man, and God's like, he's done that in my life, to where it's like, hey, man, I've taken you through this dark time, and then he'll leave just a little like, I don't believe in coincidence or deja vu or nothing like that, man. I'm telling you, God's done stuff in my life. It's like just a little like, hey, man, just keep going, because I got something for you right over here. And man, it's just one of those, like, you might go to sleep with a broken heart and you might wake up recharged the next day, and it's a brand new day. So never give up and just keep going forward, man. Do I got it all figured out? Absolutely not. But I know that this past year should have broke me, should have stopped me, should have took me down. And I'm sitting here and we're having this conversation. So all I can say is do not give up, man. And as hard as it is, as dark as it gets, the next hour, the next 30 minutes, the next 10 minutes, you could get a phone call with the best news of your life. You get a new opportunity, a blessing that God just reminds you and says, hey, man, this is why you've been struggling. This is what's been building you. This is what I've been preparing you for. This is why you had to go through. You've now reached your blessing. This is why you had to crawl through the mud. Now you get to stand on the mountain. And that's where it's at, man. And that's all you can do. And you just got to have that faith. And you got to be willing to go. Sometimes you just got to be there, man. And you just got to be, when God blesses you with that opportunity, you just got to go, but you can't give up, because the very next day could be another door, another opportunity, another chapter of your life that you were about to give up on.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, yo, Jeremy, man, thank you again for coming on. Man, this was a life-changing episode. For somebody out there, I know this is going to be a life-changing episode, man. But I already know me and you're going to stay in contact. We're going to get have a lot more stuff planned for the future. And I got to get you in my real studio when the studio open back up. So be on the lookout.
I'm with you, man. Hey, man, and I appreciate the time, man. Thank you for inviting me on. And man, like I said, just with all of this, with everything that's fallen into place, and I can't tell you how many times I've said it while being in the actors court class, is, man, God brings people together for a reason.
Oh, yes,
and
sir.
That's the way I look at this, man. This opportunity for us to get to talk and just kind of just be able to reach somebody to make an impact somewhere. You know what I mean? And I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing what God does with your life in the future, man. And He blesses so many things. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. Thank you. And thank God. We got to thank Him too.
Yeah.
Hey, that's all things go to, man. But like, I'm going to close up this episode, man. Y'all, thank you, Jeremy, again for coming on, man. And thank y'all for tuning in and listening. But like I always say before I leave on these episodes, dream big dreams, because small dreams have little magic. And how big would you dream if you know you couldn't fail? And last but not least, y'all take nothing else away from this. Y'all just do y'all best and let God take care of the rest. Man, we love y'all. Thank y'all. Hey, peace, love, happiness, y'all. And we are out.
Oh, man.
I know that I'm different, self-motivated, self-disciplined, yeah. I learned from my experience. I just want someone to take me serious. Real questions that I ask. How long will this solo trip last? I'm content with being alone in the past, but it's changing and it's something I can't grasp. Turn off my phone, I'm in my zone, so now I'm acting different. I'm to myself, I'm in my head, mapping out this life I'm living. Shadow work on myself, I done already seen hell. Can't fit in, so I rebel, but I don't miss a beat. I don't miss a beat.